welcome to Ask Me About K-Pop, the essential guide for recent converts and seasoned fans alike. My name is Shannon.
And I'm Angelica.
And welcome to another Ask Me About K-Pop movie club.
Woohoo! And more importantly, another Ask Me About K-Pop SHINee episode.
Yay! Yes, that is more important. Yeah, I love doing movie club episodes just because I like watching movies and I like recapping things. And it's been a minute since we've been able to do one of these. And usually, like our last couple of movie clubs have been, we got to go to a movie theater and watch a movie and try to like recap it in the dark. But this blessing that came upon us, I've watched it twice so far, and I know I'll watch it 10 more times.
Oh, yes.
Minimum before the year is over, because it's a perfect movie. And the movie that we will be discussing today is titled My SHINee World 1st to 15th. And this was the SHINee 15th anniversary documentary concert film that unfortunately was only released in theaters in South Korea, which was a bit of a bummer because when they announced the movie, everybody was like, international dates, please. And we all waited and waited, but they didn't play it anywhere else.
I feel like they really teased us with it too. Like, I can't remember now if it was truly just fandom hopes and dreams that I was seeing, but I feel like I saw something official where they were like, maybe it will be released in a theater near you soon, and then it never was.
And like, while I am sad that I was not able to experience this in a movie theater because it would have been awesome, I'm also kind of okay with the fact that it didn't, because the release date was the day that I was moving to Texas. And so even if it had played, I knew I wasn't going to be able to go.
Yeah.
So
it would have been like sad when the tour came to LA when you got
my
married
wedding
all over again.
Exactly. And I didn't want to relive that pain. But no, we were so blessed because this movie is like very available now.
Yes, it is.
You can watch it on Amazon Prime, I believe only in the US, unfortunately, because from what people were saying on Discord, like apps are different all over the world, but like Amazon Prime has it. I know when it first went to VOD, they had it on Apple TV, so it might be there as well. If you can get the Freevee app, that also has the movie, and I have seen that it has been put on YouTube. I don't know how long it will stay there, but the point is that it's around. So like, unlike the Monster X and 17 movies that we watched, I think you'll be able to watch this one.
I think so too. I was gonna say that through Amazon Prime, it is hosted by like Freevee, so they definitely have their own hosting site. And I honestly feel like at this point, if it's already on YouTube, somebody probably has it on a Google Drive somewhere too. So, you know, just like get on Tumblr and ask around. People, you'll find it.
People will find it. But if for some reason you can't find it or you don't have time to watch it or whatever, the point of these movie club episodes is that we are going to recap the movie for you as best as we can, so that you can try to get the experience without getting the experience. But I do so highly recommend watching this movie if you can.
It was a wonderful viewing experience, especially if you are already a Shawol. And I think this will come up a lot as we talk about it, but this is very much a documentary that is like for fans of SHINee that already exist and like maybe have like loved them for a while already, because it doesn't really put a lot of effort into explaining like who they are and where they came from and how they started. And like, it is a chronological look at their career, but it's not like an introduction to SHINee. So if you already love SHINee, please do yourself a favor and watch it because it's such a delight. Like you will truly, truly love it.
It is so good. It's truly so good. And I can't wait to talk about it. So we probably should just get straight into it. We're going to recap the whole movie. And obviously, if we have interjections about certain things, we will say them now. But at the end, we will try to have a like larger discussion, and we have a voicemail from a listener and stuff like that. So get ready. And one thing that I wrote down, just in case it's helpful to anybody, because we are all about helping and educating in this show. This concert documentary includes footage from many different SHINee worlds, and they are all mixed together and not in chronological order. So
Yes.
if you're watching this movie and you're like, wow, what a great performance. Which SHINee world is this from? So I can go find it later. I have a key so you can tell which SHINee worlds are which, and they are based
Amazing.
on what the member's hair looks like. So it helps.
Great.
Okay. So if you see Taemin with like fluffy blonde hair and Key's hair is shaved on the sides, that's SHINee World 1.
The earliest.
If every member has like some shade of brownish brunette hair, that is SHINee World 2. If Jonghyun and Key are blonde and Mino has a kind of red fluffy bowl cut, that's SHINee World 3.
Love it.
SHINee World 4, Jonghyun and Taemin are blonde, and Key
Like
has
white
like
blonde.
Yes, and Key has like rainbow little braids, like crimpy hair.
He has like always call it his seaweed hair because
Yes.
it's like different shades of green and blue and gray and has little like braids in it like a mermaid.
And then SHINee World 5 is the one where Mino had his celebrity hair and his hair is silver.
Yes.
So that's a quick visual guide that might help you while watching.
Yeah,
the
it is.
movie.
It won't help you in listening to this episode, but it
No.
will help you in watching the movie because the stages, as we're going to talk about, are like stage mixes and they don't label them. They label them with the song title, but they don't label them with which concert it is.
Yeah.
So as a visual guide,
I just
keep
thought
that in mind.
Might be helpful. Okay, are we ready to recap this movie?
I'm so ready.
Okay, so this movie starts with the storytelling device that we had in the movie that I was obsessed with. I'll talk about it
Yes.
more, but just know I was obsessed with this. The movie sets up a character that I'm just calling our Shawwal.
Yeah.
Because it is like a girl. You don't really ever see her face, but she is like the conduit for all Shawwals in this movie. And she enters her bedroom and puts her briefcase down on the bed, and the Feeling music video is playing on her phone, which she like sets on her nightstand. And she has a poster, a hard SHINee hard poster, and as she passes her closet, you see that there's all these bins full of SHINee merch like up in her closet, and she has every single album like lining the shelf underneath her window.
Yeah.
So this is our person. We're following her. She is us. We are her.
Yeah, that's my very first note about this movie is that this storytelling device, and I also just called her the Shawwal. And it's her, as we'll talk about, through the ages. And it was so touching and beautiful and like a really good non-verbal narration.
Yeah.
Like you immediately understood like who this person was, and this was kind of the first, and because this is the opening scene, it instantly makes it feel very for the fans, by the fans, and it was like it hooks you immediately. It was so fun.
So we go from like the collage of SHINee posters that she has above her desk into collages of just individual members as their names come on the bottom. So like, this is who's in the movie, and then the title card, My SHINee World, and then we get another like kind of scrappy scrapbook collage animation that counts backwards from 2023 back to 2008 with all of pictures from the different eras. So that's like our setup. Then we go back into the Shawwal's room, except for now it is the past. And it's a close up of a Romeo poster. And as she enters the room, we see that she's wearing a school uniform and she's listening to Replay on her CD player that has like shiny stickers all over it. And we like pan over her desk and she's got like so much early SHINee memorabilia, and her little notebook is like all covered in stickers of them. And she's just like a student listening to Replay. So we've gone back to the beginning. It's so cute.
It's so cute. It's so cute. And like I said, like such an easy narration that doesn't require any exposition. Like there's no dialogue from this person, from this Shawwal. It's great. And I definitely like first tears of the movie with the fucking CD player and all of her stickers. I was like, no, too relatable.
Yes. So then we get our first stage of the movie, our first concert footage, and there's a big 2008 title card over it, and it is the entire stage of Replay from SHINee World 1.
Yes. And this was, the first one that was not a stage mix, just this straight concert footage. And it was so fun for us to be able to watch this because you and I watched this concert very early on.
I'm
in
pretty
our
sure
fandom.
it was New Year's Eve, and I believe it was the New Year's where the year turned 2014.
Yeah.
And we watched this concert in like 280p on YouTube. And then we watched like 3 episodes of Hello Baby before my husband came home from his waiter shift of his New Year's shift.
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say, is that we watched it in such low quality. Like the entire concert is so pixelated. So then to see it in this beautiful
Full
HD.
Magic.
It felt revolutionary. Like it was just fandom dreams come true.
Yeah, it was incredible. It was incredible to see it so high def. I could never imagine. So then after the Replay stage, we see some black and white footage of them in a like backstage huddle, and somebody says like, let's all relax and have fun. And like he says, we need to hear from our leader. And Jinky says like, let's not get hurt and enjoy the show. And they do like, yeah, SHINee. And then it goes into Love Like Oxygen. And this is a stage mix of footage from SHINee World 1 and 2. And they use the dance break from 2 where they like step into this like shallow water pool and kick a bunch of water around.
Yeah. They have a great time with their little singing in the rain moment.
Yeah, it's good. So then from there they go into Our Love Should Go On. And this is a stage from SHINee World 4 where they have their Your Number suits on. But they don't do any choreo. They just like walk around and hype the crowd and stuff.
Yeah.
And this song plays like 2/3 of the way through, and then it kind of zooms out onto a TV in the Shawwal bedroom set. But now it's not the Shawwal is in the bedroom. Now it's Taemin and Key and Mino walking into the bedroom and looking around at all of this stuff.
Yeah, and this immediately made me like squeal in my bedroom because I got instant secondhand embarrassment at the idea of SHINee walking into my room and going through all of my fangirl stuff. Like like looking through my collection. No, please don't. Stop touching that. Put that down.
No, totally.
Shimeen, it says don't touch.
But yeah, it's always fun. There was a couple of things in the 15th anniversary stuff where they were like confronted with their own merch, and it's very funny how they don't recognize so much of it and like haven't seen so much of it before.
Yeah. How separate they are from all of the stuff that we collect.
Yeah. Like Mino finds like a program from SHINee World 1 where they had all done handwritten messages in it. And he's like, wow, we wrote everything so, like, we wrote so diligently back then. Like, wow, we used to like really write shit. And like Key can't remember where one of the pictures on the wall is from. And then there's this cute moment where Taemin finds this pen on the desk, and Key like explains some like deep early fandom, K-pop fandom lore, where somebody on the internet made this template where it was just basically like a string of text that said like there was a blank for leaving your name and a blank for leaving your artist's name. And it was basically like, I, so and so, am the truest fan of so and so forever and ever. And you would print it out and fill in the blanks and then tape it around a pen to show your fandom. And Key says that he made them for Boa, like, because he was such a Boa fan. Like, he used to make these pens, and I loved that detail. I thought that was really fun.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, learning about a new like way to show off like your number one, but also just like Key being one of the best fangirls around is always one of my favorite things.
And Taemin in this scene explains that somebody told him that all of the memorabilia in this movie was collected from fans, and they seem to have gotten a hold of everything that was ever made.
Yeah, at least it was like Noah's Ark of SHINee memorabilia, like one of everything they put out at some point.
It was super cool. There's a point where Mino finds a piece of merchandise and tries to get he tells the others like, you are not going to guess what this is. You'll never guess what this is. And it turns out to be those oil blotting sheets.
Yes.
And Taemin's like, we put out stuff like that. And they're like so shocked.
Which is so funny because I literally have a thing of oil blotting sheets that has Chanyeol on it. Like,
I have lay ones. I have two.
Yeah.
Because I use them. Thank you, Nature Republic.
Yep.
Let's see. Key also reminisces about how they used to throw early in their career. They would have these like neighborhood concerts, like basically like community concert in the park, and that most of the people that came were just people who lived in the neighborhood and like not even their fans. And then Mino has this book that's like questions from Shawwalls, and so they kind of use this for all of these little SHINee boys talking
interviews
scenes.
Yeah.
So the first question he asks is something about their first reality show, the one where they were dating the Nunas. That is like so crazy that they made it.
Oh yeah.
And the question is about like, was it planned for you to go on that like walk at sunrise or whatever? And Key laughs hysterically and is like, every single thing we ever did was planned. And he said, quote, we had less than 0.1% independence.
Yeah. It was so fun. I mean, SHINee at this point in their career, I think, has a pretty good reputation for being very candid. But especially in these little scenes where it wasn't like a talking head, because in the other K-pop movies we've seen, it's been like straight up
interview
going to an interview where the idols are sitting by themselves and talking directly to the camera. But this was just the members sitting together in this cozy room, and it felt very comfortable and like sincere, and because they were just genuinely like having a conversation. Like Mino was kind of guiding it by bringing up each question, but it didn't feel like a structured interview. And then having them just like speak so honestly about it is really fun. You get that like insider scoop that we always want so
absolutely.
badly.
So the next question he asks is, what is the driving force that helps when life becomes exhausting? And Mino says that concerts are always the best for him, that he loves the chants and the screams and like seeing the fans. And Key says this quote that I thought was great. He said, everything is 70% difficult and 30% great. And that he hates practicing, and has always hated practicing, but they have to do it. And now at this point in his career, he's like grateful for having to practice, like even when it's hard, because they still get to do this. And like,
Yeah.
isn't that great? And then Taemin talks about being motivated by like the gradual steps that they've always taken and how their accomplishments have just been like accumulating for 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
And that there's always more steps to take is what keeps him going.
Yeah.
And then they joke about how they used to, at the beginning, they were only motivated by getting their cell phones back. That like all they wanted was to get their cell phones back.
Yeah, probably because, as they say multiple times, like they had no independence, and everywhere that they went, like they was planned for them. So having like a phone is your only means of escape.
Uh-huh. And Key talks about like he just wanted to have enough money to like buy his own clothes, and Taemin was like, I was always happy to get to wear your clothes.
Which he said as though he doesn't
Still
to
do
this
that.
day raid Key's closet when he's not home.
Key says that he loves making albums that wow people. And that it makes Taemin very proud as well. And then Key says, from Juliet on, I knew that we were doing something unique.
Mm-hmm.
And then Taemin talks about the Juliet album itself and that it's his favorite album cover and his favorite like photo shoot, which made me feel very warm because y'all can't see, but in my new office, I have a very, very big poster from the Juliet photo shoot that is like my favorite.
Yeah.
And so knowing that Taemin loves it also just like makes it even more special to me now.
Yeah, that was really sweet that he said that, especially because I think that cover is actually, that whole photo shoot is very simple. Like it's just them in a white room wearing bright clothes and like being together.
And they don't have makeup on. You can see all of their little acnes because they're little teen boys.
Yeah, they're just like very fresh faced and young and sweet. And like Taemin was talking about how that styling is like, he was like, I think it still works even today. And I was like, oh, you guys can do that again if you want to. Like just be your sweet selves.
Yes.
Our SHINee.
So this obviously is a great segue into our next stage. We get a 2009 title card and it's Juliet. And this Juliet is a stage mix from 1, 2, 3, and 5.
Yeah.
And the special part of this one is Key had a dance break in SHINee World 5 in Juliet. So that is in this mix performance.
Yeah, this was so special, and this continued to be fun in every stage mix that they did, but especially for Juliet, where they perform it in almost every single tour, seeing them go from 1 all the way to 5 and like still just like killing this song and like bringing something new to it, and like it's so fun to see them like grow through each performance and then have it all mixed together. Oh, it was emotional. This movie made me so emotional.
And me too. So then this obviously goes into Ring Ding Dong. And it opens with footage from SHINee World 3, and the Shawwalls are like screaming the lyrics like so loudly.
So loud.
And then the latter half of the song, they start mixing in footage from SHINee World 5 of Ring Ding Dong. And then the big feature of this one is that the dance break from SHINee World 3, there's like an overhead shot of the LED floor and they like throw magic whooshes to each other. And then they all do like a little pop lock and then like whoosh, throw the magic over there, all culminating in Taemin rising like a god in the back of the stage. And then he does like an epic dance solo break by himself.
It's so good. It's so fun.
So then from here, we hear, I think it's Jong's voice first saying, remember when we first met? And it's like it's the voiceover from a VCR-ish moment in SHINee World 2, where each of the members like recorded like a nice message to the Shawwalls. And so they're playing the audio from that while doing like a montage of them like leaving various concerts and like the Shawwalls cheering and like goofing around on stage and blowing
Mhm.
kisses. And it's just kind of like the audio from one moment with like montage
Yeah.
stuff on
Yeah, yeah,
top.
yeah. To kind of show like what they did throughout the year and like all the fan interactions throughout their timeline while, having some sentimental words from the boys themselves.
And it ends with them doing like a very, very, very deep bow, like all together. And it fades into a song called The Name That I Loved. And the varied concert footage continues montage style over this. And this song was on the 2009 album, the Year of Us album. And it was an Onu solo on that
Mm,
album. But this is the concert version where they all do it.
nice.
And it ends with a classic early era Mino deep voice going, "Yours is the name that I loved." And everybody screams.
I think this was one of the points in our group chat where I was just like, I love their drama. They're so over the top.
Yes. So then the like screen starts glitching and we get another title card that says 2010 and it's Lucifer time. And the stage started with all of the members like coming out of what looks like a UFO.
Mm-hmm.
And they're in really bulky white outfits. And this was from SHINee World 2. And then they mix in SHINee World 3 and 5 in the Lucifer. And there is also a little bit of footage from SM Town, Japan 2017. And I was like surprised and happy to see this footage because that stage is the last one they ever did as 5 people.
Mm.
And I was glad that it was included. It's the only stages in these. No, there's anyway, it's one of the only non-SHINee World performances that gets mixed in. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Lucifer through the ages.
Always good.
Always.
Another one where they do it so often that it's really fun to see the way it grows and the way that they just like kill it every time. And the Shawwalls like screaming every word is so fun. And I don't know like where it was in the concert that I noticed, but I just want to give like a shout out to whoever subbed this movie.
Oh my God, yes.
Because
thank you. Please bring this up.
they had not only obviously the conversations in the room are subbed, but also they have full English lyrics for every single song that you see, like whether they showed the whole thing or not. And that's so fun because there are so many of the, like, I don't really look up the lyrics to my K-pop songs. I just don't really care. And so there's so many of these songs that like I know every Korean syllable to, and I've never once read the English lyrics. So it was like experiencing them for the first time all over again. And that was very special and fun.
I totally agree.
But I also thought, and this is going to come up, I think, in a bit, but there were a lot of really good like emphasis on the fan chants and the like Pearl Aqua like crowd shots, which really I thought brought in that like community feel of the SHINee World, because it was always like not just focusing on the members on stage, but focusing on like the experience of being at a SHINee concert.
Yeah.
And that was a really special touch.
Totally. So then Lucifer goes into another title card, 2012, and they do Sherlock. The SHINee's back hits so hard. It always hits so hard.
Every time.
And this is a mix from 2, 3, and 4. And the 2 stage, the SHINee World 2 stage, has like huge water fountains like spraying at the front of the stage for like the last chorus. And I just always love I love when there's extra.
Like, yeah, I guess it's not pyrotechnics, but like hydrotechnics.
Okay, so then after Sherlock, we fade into the Shawwalls room again, and they're saying like, I thought my worries would be over when we debuted, but that was only the start of it.
Mm-hmm.
And Tamien is like, do you guys remember that time that we came home from practicing and we were all so tired that we just collapsed in the like front room with the shoes? And the other two were like, no, I don't remember that, but I believe you. Like, we were very tired. And like, he talks about like them dancing till their shoes completely wore out in the bottom,
Mm-hmm.
but that they always still looked happy on TV. Like,
Yeah.
they were working so hard back then. And like,
Yeah, so hard. And I liked the way that this conversation was paced. Like, to obviously it's supposed to be chronological, but like it is without ever explicitly talking about what they're doing at the time. Like the first conversation talks about initially and like how it's so difficult. And now they're like, oh, yeah, but here we are, like now we've debuted and it's only just getting harder because like our popularity is growing and now we have to balance it and figure out like who are we working with and like how are we going to get along. And it was just it's very well structured. I
yes,
guess I thought the whole movie was really well structured and paced, and like the story felt very easy to follow along as a
agreed.
Shawwal. Mm-hmm.
So then next, Mino asks another question from the book. And the question is, how do you relieve stress from being tired and busy? And he immediately answers as like himself 15 years ago, because he says, oh, we didn't relieve our stress back then. We just sucked it up.
Yeah,
Like, that's his first
immediately.
answer. And Tamien says that even though it sounds weird, that going to the practice room felt like a break because it was the only
Mm-hmm.
place they were allowed to go without asking permission. Like,
Yeah.
they were allowed to be in the practice room. And just that little bit of freedom, even though it's freedom to just go practice more, was like a relief to him somehow.
I mean, probably just a relief to be alone.
Yeah.
Like that, it's probably the only place where he was allowed to be without like a manager or some sort of coach or trainer being like, what are you doing right now? And
Mm-hmm.
he could just be like, I'm in the practice room. And like maybe he's just laying on the floor, but he's alone for one instance of his day.
Um, Tamien says that him and Mino played a lot of video games together, and I liked them mentioning that detail because it's one of my favorite moments in the I Am documentary where Key is
Yes.
getting interviewed in the dining room, and like Mino and Tamien are playing FIFA in the background, and then they get all excited and start yelling, and Key like has to shout at them and like get super pissed, and it's just like such a beautiful moment of that time of them. And so I was like, good, I'm glad you brought that up.
Yes. I feel like I also remember moments from like One Fine Day or something where like Key is trying to get their attention, or maybe it's I don't know, Hello Baby or We Got Married, where like somebody is shouting at Timmy and Mino playing on the couch and they like end up throwing like a pillow. And I just, yeah, it's a very like specific little time capsule
Of
memory.
like dorm memories.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Key says he can't even remember what he used to do. Maybe he watched dramas, and then they take this opportunity to pick on Taemin because I guess he really liked this sitcom called High Kick.
Oh yeah.
And that he would watch it. Like Mina was like, you watched it for like 24 hours once. Like you used to binge that show. And Taemin talks about how him and Key bought laptops like just to play games on. And Mino's like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Taemin, you used to play video games before school. And Taemin's like, don't say that I played games before school. And that was a really funny moment. But then it kicked off Key to be like, hey, at least you got to go to school. And then he
Mm-hmm.
has like a very real moment of talking about like, you know, he had to move to Seoul and he missed all of his friends from back home and
Mm-hmm.
wanted to talk to them and hang out with them. And that, like, in order to remain mysterious, like, SHINee wasn't supposed to interact with anyone else at the beginning.
Yeah.
And they could only talk to each other. But because they were all so stressed out, all they did was stress each other out more.
Yeah.
And like, that's a bummer to hear. But I also was like, wow, that's so relatable. Cause there was a point when I was in college where me and all of my roommates worked at the same dance studio. And we realized after a while that anytime we were at home and not at work, all we did was complain about work because we
Mm,
all had that in common. And
yeah.
then it was like making us very cranky and we never had fun together because all we did was complain about our jobs. And like, I guess
Yeah.
that's what their life was like too.
Totally, totally. And just like the same situation, like they're living together.
Mm-hmm.
So they have no escape from it or no other outlet. Or even to just be like, hey, what'd you do today? Because they know, because they've been together and
Yeah.
they did the same thing all day. So there really is, it's just like a little self perpetuating cycle.
Mm-hmm. And I just love that they talk about things like this. Like, I love that it's
Mm-hmm.
been long enough that they don't have to like talk about everything like it's nice. Like,
Yeah, they don't hesitate to not put on the rose colored glasses.
mhm.
Like Key and Mino are very upfront about the fact that they did not get along for a really long time. And it's just refreshing to hear people speak very frankly because it's
Mhm.
like, yeah, it's hard to just throw 5 personalities together and have them eat, sleep, and like work together all
And
of
they're
the time.
teens.
And they're teens. I mean, no matter what age, but
Right.
especially as like little teenagers who don't know what the fuck they're doing. Oh.
So then Mino asks another question, which is like, how did you feel when you met fans for the first time? And they talk about being shocked that anyone showed up to their
Mhm.
debut. Like, why are people here? Like, we're not real yet. Like, how did you
Yeah.
guys hear about this? Why are you here? And Mino remembers that they had a fan meeting at a park after their debut stage and that the fans had balloons because it was
Mhm.
pre-Lightstick era.
Yeah.
And then Tamien talks about how he remembers every single thing about that day, like what everyone was wearing and the color of the trees and how humid it was outside, and like that day is like burned into his
Mhm.
mind. And that kind of fades into another stage, title card 2013, and they do hitchhiking. But it starts with the SHINee World 5 stage because that's the first song they do in SHINee World 5. So it's like the Shawwalls are like
Opening.
chanting and waiting for them, and the curtain goes up, and it's like the
Yeah.
full opening into hitchhiking. And then it mixes in SHINee World 3, which has the crazy dubstep breakdown.
Oh my God. And we had so much fun during this because we were like, wow, this feels so 2013 that it's actively painful, I
Uh-huh.
think. Like, the dubstep is sharp.
But it perfectly transitions into the next song, which is Everybody. And it's
Mhm.
a same mix of SHINee World 3 and SHINee World 5. And in the SHINee World 3 stage, Jong throws his jacket off.
Fuck that jacket. Guns must be out.
And then we were having so much fun. I love hitchhiking. We were so pumped. And then everybody, and it was so
so-
great. We're having such a good time. And then the movie was like, boom, Celine 623. And I was like, wait. Like,
Oh my God.
I wasn't ready for cry. I was having a good time.
Yeah, this was the first time that I think it like really hit, but there were a couple of tone shifts in this movie that really gave you whiplash. Especially with a song like Celine, which is like so beautiful. And then in this one, the Shawwalls are singing so loudly. And like I said, like they really tried to emphasize like the participation that happens at the SHINee World concerts. And I wasn't prepared.
Yeah. So it's the whole stage from SHINee World 3, the big moon in the background. They're all like singing it. And then after they finish, the stadium goes dark and the song keeps playing. And then the Shawwalls sing the whole last verse and chorus like by themselves in the dark with their little like glow sticks because it's pre Shouting Stars, of course. And they like, there's a part at the end where they like all do somebody's like, whoa, ad lib. And then they make themselves laugh. And like,
Yeah.
it gets me. I love something about like
It's such
crowd
a-
energy like that. Just like
Yeah.
it chokes me up.
It's just a very wholesome like moment of shared humanity. And there are some like I love watching crowds sing together. Like there's this one video that literally makes me cry every time I watch it, of this like huge crowd at Glastonbury singing every single word of Bohemian Rhapsody. And it's like it's just the way that people are working together. And like
Yes.
in this one with the like crowd reaction where they all do the ad lib and then they all laugh at the same moment. It's so cute. And I just thought of like SHINee backstage, like being able to hear that. And it made me cry. So like
Yes.
cry counts probably at like 3
Yeah.
at this point, I think, at least.
I don't have my tally, but like do know that I was crying quite a few times in this film.
Yep.
So then this moment goes into the VCR straight out of SHINee World 3, where the members like leave a little handwritten message, and then there's like slow-mo footage of them like smiling in the grass, like ah. And then this fades into the Shawwal room at a midpoint in her life, and she's listening to Jonghyun's End of the Day on her iPod. And the room is like dark, and she seems like sadder and more worn down. And when she gets to her desk, she takes out like a big stack of entrance exam study books, and she looks at them like but then she like looks over to all her other SHINee stuff on her desk, and she smiles, and she changes her iPod, and it does that really satisfying iPod click 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 as she turns the wheel. And then you pan up to her posters, and now her posters are all View era posters, and Odd Eye starts to play on her iPod. And then we see some footage from the View music video, but the Odd Eye intro is still playing. Then 2015, View. It's SHINee World 4. The Shawwals are screaming all of the words. We also get some SM Town 2017 footage in this, and like Jong is so big and so tattooed, like I forgot how many tattoos he had.
He had so many, and there was a point where he like would not wear anything that covered his arms or sides.
Yes.
Like every tank top was ripped
Cut
like
all the way
to the
down.
waist because he was so jacked.
And he had so many tattoos. And like Taemin is not a baby anymore, because that's like a Move era Taemin in that stage. So he has like the silver hair, and he's like, serious,
Exploring his sensuality.
And then I also noted that in the SHINee World 4 stage is when they were wearing the like preppier of the View outfits, and they have their little cappies on. And Key is wearing like a V-neck sweater, but without a shirt underneath. And he's dancing so hard that by the end of the song, he is like almost completely slipped out of the neck hole.
His
of
little
it. Like,
shoulder is like threatening to come all the way out of the V-neck. And because View was like a peak era of us, like, okay, we're like into SHINee, and now they're all back, and everything about this comeback is perfect. Some of those performances and outfits were like burned into my brain.
Yeah.
It felt like a sensory memory watching them again, where I was like instantly transported to where and when I was the first time I ever saw those outfits. And it was wild. Like the hold that View has on my Shawwal heart is so strong. So strong.
absolutely. So the View stage then fades into this second version of the Shawwal room. So the furniture is different, and the posters have changed. And then the light in the room is kind of darker, like it's like the sun is setting. And Key is leaning on the desk, and Mino's in a chair, and Taemin's sitting on the bed, like playing with the shouting star. And Key asks, like, do you guys think we had a seventh year curse? And Mino says that he thinks they didn't because
Mm-hmm.
that year went very smoothly. And he even says the curse vanished with us. And then Key immediately says, but we didn't get along then.
He's like, but I hated you.
And Taemin says that like at that point he already felt so experienced and he had like kind of an attitude, like that he thought he was so big and cool and that he knew everything already. But that Key talks about how they were all still struggling to find their identities.
Yeah.
And that they were, quote, kind of on edge,
Yeah.
and that their makeup even reflected it, like that they like wore heavy makeup. And Taemin says that they were, quote, sensitive and noxious back then.
That's such a funny description. But I love hearing them reminisce about this, especially like because now they're in their 30s and so they're adults, and I think that are they seem to have very good like heads on their shoulders at this point in their life. They seem pretty like reasonable, and to think about, you know, where they were at this point in their careers and where they were at this point in their adolescence, like Taemin and Jung like had each gone solo, and like they were in their like late teens, early 20s, and like probably had like at some modicum of independence, like more than they did before, and maybe that felt huge, and so they're kind of feeling like that weird in between of like, I am an adult and I think I know everything but I actually don't know shit.
Yeah.
And like that's a really strange place to be, so having to navigate that kind of entrance into adulthood while also being super famous,
Yeah.
and like being, you know, I don't know.
It's interesting
what
that
lives they lead.
Yeah, it's interesting that Taemin was able to like pinpoint that like 7 years in, I thought I knew everything, but that was 8 years ago. Like,
Yeah.
that they have done so much and been around so long that it's all just so fascinating, and I love them so much.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because they've been around so long, but also been, for the most part, very steadily busy, whether they were doing something all together, like group activities or individual activities. They've never, with the exception of the military break, which is coming up in the timeline, they never really take a hiatus. So them talking about like when Taemin was mentioning all of the little accomplishments, that is what like makes it feel worth it. I kind of understand that, because it's like, yeah, at least, you know, you're looking back at this 7 years or 8 or 15 years, but the list of things you've done in that time goes on forever. Like that must make it feel very worthwhile and very validating of like, yeah, it was really hard, but also we weren't just like, it wasn't for nothing. Like, look at all of the things we have to our name because of it.
So the next question that he asks is, from 2008 to 2015, if you could go back to any moment in that time, what would it be? And Taemin says like debut day. Like, I want to go back as far as I possibly can and fix all of the bad stuff. And they like ask him to explain himself, and he's basically like, I just wish that I could take all the experience that I have now and do all of that stuff like better.
Yeah. Like give my past self advice.
Yeah.
That he so sorely needed.
And then Mino says that he would like go back to the end of that piece that he's allowed to, like, you know, the last possible second of it, which is View era, because he wishes that they just could have been more active then. And Key says that he feels the same way about Sherlock. And they have like an interesting conversation about like, you think that we would have, or they would have, or everyone would have learned that like after Sherlock wasn't promoted better, that we would have fixed that by view time, and we didn't. And like, I'm still mad about it because they like View was too far ahead of its time. And they didn't realize how big it would be, and like SM didn't plan things, and they didn't have anything going on other than like a week of music shows, and like it's a regret that they have.
Yeah, and I loved hearing that because that's one of our favorite eras,
Yeah.
as we've said. And we felt the same way as fans when that song came out. And we loved everything about it. It was so different and fresh and fun. And they looked so beautiful. We like never got Mino's blonde hair in like any extensive capacity outside of the music video and the performance version, which like, thank God those are immortalized.
I know, right?
But
At
come
least we have
on.
that.
And like hearing Mino like say just straight out, like, we should have promoted that more. And I wish that we had, like, oh,
It was
thank you.
validating.
Like,
Yeah.
it was so validating. And also like, maybe we shouldn't be so surprised that some of them didn't renew their contracts. Like, not to dive too much into the future here,
Right.
but they've always, just because they didn't have necessarily like the power to make the choices they wanted to in their own promotions and careers, it's really interesting to hear them talk about it, because they've always like been so attentive to what they're putting out and how they're promoting it and how they're putting it out, and that they've always like wanted to have that involvement. It makes me excited for like the eras where they start having more, and
Yeah.
like maybe future eras where they get even more control. It's nice to, see your favorite artist be so like conscientious about like what they're doing. I think that's the right word I want to use.
I like it. And they also Mino talks about feeling like so deeply self-conscious at the Dream concert, because that was the first time that they wore their View outfits in public, and they were all wearing tank tops, and everybody else had on elaborate stage costumes. And like, I don't think that people who are like more recent K-pop fans like can understand that it was a really big deal that SHINee was wearing thrift store clothes. Like, nobody did that. Like, it was a big deal.
I remember them talking about it even then at the time, like when they were promoting on music shows, and they would do like their music bank interview or something. And they talked about how they went to go give one of their albums to like a senior artist, and they felt like they didn't want to go into the dressing room because they felt like they were in their stage costumes, but this person was wearing something like sparkly and fancy and whatever. And they were like in sneakers and like torn shirts or whatever. We're just like, here, somebody, like, and they felt so awkward about it. But it's so common now, but it wasn't at the time.
It was too far ahead of its time. It really was. But that's why it will remain timeless.
Absolutely.
And then to answer this question, Key says that he couldn't go very far back because he wouldn't be able to look himself in the mirror, because it took him a while to figure out his hair and makeup style.
Sure.
And so that's his thinking. It's like, I can't go back in time because I didn't know how to do my hair yet. So that will embarrass me. And then Mino notices in the very big collage of SHINee stuff on the wall of this bedroom set, he sees a picture of the Dream concert he was just referencing, and he's like, look, that's what I was talking about. And Key was like, oh my God, yeah, we sang an encore at that stage. And Mino was like, yes, and the fans were all singing it with us, and so I wasn't embarrassed of our outfits anymore because the fans were like being so supportive, and which fades into Shawwal singing an encore in a dark arena with only their shouting stars like lighting the place. And it's so beautiful. And then it goes into an encore stage, which is a mix from SHINee World 4 and 5. Then it fades into a 2016 title card. And the beginning of One is playing as the curtain rises. And SHINee World 5, SHINee comes out in their One outfits to dance, or in those ugly suits that I hated so much from that concert.
Yeah,
whatever.
from that concert.
They come out and they start dancing the intro of One. But the song doesn't start playing.
Nope.
And instead, they fade into Never Let Me Go. And at this point, I was straight up angry because I had just been crying at an encore. And then I was like, oh, phew, one of one, bring me back.
Yeah.
And they didn't play one of one. And then they went straight into another sad song.
Yeah. Yeah. This was this was the sad portion.
If I
of
have
the
a complaint
documentary.
about the movie, it's this one. Like, how dare they? I needed that one of one. I needed it.
Yeah. And also, like, not to to belabor the point or whatever, like, that was the last comeback we had with all 5 of them, and we didn't get to see a full performance of their title track. Like, come on. Like, or a full Married to the Music or something. Like,
Rude.
rude.
But this Never Let Me Go stage is important to me because
It is.
I have discussed, I don't know if I'm sure I've said it before. There's the opening outfits at SHINee World 5. I hate them so much. Key loves them.
Yeah.
He picked them out. I think they're like Versace or Gucci or something. And like, he thinks they're great. I think they look like clowns. I hate them. However, there is a segment where they're all wearing like silk or lace. And like, Mino
They
has
look
this like
so
rich
beautiful.
rust colored like satin shirt with like the deepest neckline and his beautiful pushed back silver hair. And like, that one of the pictures from that segment of the show was my lock screen for a while at this time. And
Appropriate, because that outfit was perfect.
So glad those outfits made it into this concert doc.
Mhm,
Good outfits.
mhm.
But then this is when our group chat just started texting each other all caps, no, 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 no. Because after this Never Let Me Go stage, they just start playing the opening of the Our Page music video, which none of us have watched more than once because I don't
Yeah.
want to, because it's very painful. And I was
Yes.
like, no, we're here already. And it just like hit me like a truck. And I was like, I was not ready.
Yes, I agree. I think, like I said earlier, there were a few points of tonal whiplash in this film, and even though the R page didn't come like completely out of nowhere, it just felt it did feel a little bit fast. But at the same time, I had been kind of like dreading it the
Right.
entire time we were working our way through the timeline. But yeah, I don't know, maybe because like 2008 and 2009 like had their own whole section, and then
With like multiple songs. I'm like,
yeah, with multiple songs, and then it was like we went from 2012 to 2015, all of a sudden we're in 2017. Like, hold on a second. Hold on.
uh-huh.
But yeah, that I think is my only maybe like complaint about the pacing of this film. Otherwise,
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Okay, so then we do get a stage of Our Page from the Shining Party fan meet in 2018. And it's such a beautiful, stunning performance. It's also another time where like having the lyrics on the bottom was like appreciated and also way too much like at the same time. And I
Yeah.
think I've said it before, like, I don't remember when this song coming up, but like something about the way that the chorus of Our Page is like belted and like that all 4 of them just get to like shout those lyrics at the top of their lungs, like feels like it's so painful, but there's something very like cathartic about it
Yes.
too. Like that
Absolutely.
you just get to like shout it to the sky. And it's so beautiful. And this particular version ends with them doing the like ohs for a really long time, like just a cappella with all of the shawls. And it's like
Yeah.
it's a very heavy, but again, a very togetherness moment that feels good ultimately.
Yeah, I agree. We can talk more about it like
Yes.
later at the end. But yes, ultimately in the moment while watching it, it felt good and well done.
So then we go back to our boys in the Shawwal room, and now it's like fully nighttime. And Key starts talking about going to the military.
Mm-hmm.
And this whole section is kind of about this like last couple of years. So he's like, you know, me and Mino essentially went to the military together. So even though
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see him, I felt less lonely. Like, but Tamien, you had to do it all alone. What was that like? And Tamien talks about being worried that everything he had done up until that point in his career was going to be all in vain
Mm-hmm.
and it was all going to be over because he went on a break and that he did not know how to be a regular person.
Yeah.
He didn't know what he liked to do for fun. He
Mm-hmm.
didn't like, he just truly did not know how to function at that
Yeah.
time in his life, which is what we all assumed might happen to him.
Yes.
So it was like, not nice, but it was comforting to hear him say it as well. Like,
Yeah. 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 And again, like speak frankly about what is going on with them while, you know, they're having to go through all of these different things.
and then Mino sort of talks about like, it sounds very silly. I'm sure it sounds very silly, but like you can't know what this feels like until you experience it. And Key
Mm-hmm.
was like, I was so worried I was going to have to start my entire career over from scratch. And Mino's like, and obviously those worries were like really unfounded. Like everything
Yeah.
was fine. But again, you can't know until you do
Until
it.
you
Like
do it.
everyone
Yeah.
can tell you it's going to be fine, but like they didn't know. And like that time was very weird for all of them.
Mhm. Yeah. And I wonder too if it caused them additional stress because we've talked like in our, you know, like when like SHINee Deep Dive Part 2, you know, when we updated it with them like coming back from the military, and we talked a little bit about how like K-pop changed really quickly, like, and like every year it seems like it's growing bigger and it's growing like faster and it's changing faster, and them being like second gen idols, I wonder if that added to their stress of like being outside of it and watching it change and grow and almost being like, are we even going to be able to like jump back in and do these like new trends and TikTok challenges and
Right.
ending fairies and all this crap? Like that must have been wild. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he does talk about it because Key then says, like, well, if Don't Call Me had failed, we wouldn't be making this movie right now, which is very funny. And then Taemin said something that I thought was like very wise. He says sometimes he says wise things, and I'm like,
He
he
does.
catches me off guard. But he says that, like, because they had achieved so much at the point they had gone to the military, all of their worries felt proportional to the amount of success they had achieved. Like, that's
Yeah.
why they were so worried, because like all that time
They'd done so much.
yeah. And they'd worked really hard and like put their lives on the line and didn't want to lose it.
Mm-hmm.
And Mino says that people have told them that they didn't lose their edge after going to the military, and that you can tell that they worked hard to keep it up, and that they all feel very responsible to never lose that.
Yeah.
And then Key says that while he was in the military, he watched so much K-pop and like saw all of the things, like the close-up cams and the fan cams and the TikTok challenges, and was like trying to keep up. And Taemin was like, I hate close-up fan cams because you used to be able to like rest off stage when you were on stage, and now you have to like smile because there's still a
Be
camera on you
all the time. Yeah.
And then another wise Taemin quote, he says, aging is in the way that you think, and we still keep it young.
Mm-hmm.
And Mino says that because they were so young when they debuted, their image is like imprinted on people and nobody believes that they are 30.
Yeah.
And then the last thing Mino says in this segment is, one thing for sure, we're not mature yet. And then they all laugh. And we get a 2021 title card, and it's Don't Call Me. And this stage is from their very recent 15th anniversary fan meet, which I said in the group chat, like, I was at this one because I was
Yes.
watching it on VLive. So I was technically there. And this is two different nights mixed into a stage, which you wouldn't be able to tell, except for Jinky has a ponytail in night 1 and not night 2. So like his hair keeps like going back and forth, which was very funny.
It was very funny and very subtle. I don't know how long or if I would have noticed if you hadn't pointed it out.
After Call Me, we go back to the most grown up Shawwal bedroom from the opening, and she's looking through her albums fondly and then takes out all of her bins of merch from the top of the closet and starts looking through everything. And as the camera is like slowly panning over everything, The Feeling is playing on her AirPods. So her listening technology has been evolving too, which
It
is
has
so
evolved, and we've come full circle to where we started.
Then we get a montage of behind the scenes stuff from through the years, mixed with more of the like merch displays and all the stuff that they collected. And Like It from the Hard album is playing, and then it sort of transitions into them preparing for and the venue being constructed and the fans lining up for SHINee World 6.
Yay!
So then we get a 2023 SHINee World 6 card, and they come out and they do Hard, and then it goes straight into Juice. We were so excited that the Juice happened.
I specifically wrote this down to shout out this moment
Yes.
in our group chat, because during Hard, they're wearing like the music video outfits where Mino is wearing the red military jacket and the like black pants and the high-waisted boots. And our friend Jenna was like, I love this Mino outfit. It's one of my favorites. It's so good. And we were like, yeah, well, he looks amazing. And you were joking about how much smaller all of his outfits are now, like
Yes.
especially that Tokyo Dome top, quote unquote. And Jenna was like, what top? And as soon as she said what top, it cut to Juice in that top.
Right.
Which is very small and shows a little bit of his abs. And he's wearing a harness over it. And Jenna just types, oh.
I think she eventually followed it out with a my God, but just the O had us like cracking up. Because that's the top I meant. That one.
That one.
Because that stage outfit is, because I was like, she was like, the red one's my favorite. And I was like, my favorite is the other one.
Yeah.
And then we saw it. And that top, like in the recent Tokyo Dome shows, it's tighter than it is in this movie because he gets bigger all the time. So this is fun. This is good. Then The Feeling starts playing, and Taemin says into the mic, like, this is our last song. Thank you. And it's like footage from SHINee World 6 of them singing the song, running around at the end of the show. But then they just start sprinkling in all of this fun montage stuff from all 15 years and seeing footage of the 5 of them while The Feeling was playing. It's like, it's everything to me, because that is my favorite. That is now my favorite fan song that they've ever made. And like getting to see it like that was like extra touching, I think.
Yeah, it felt very special, and the final montage like gave us one last good cry to like wrap it all up. And then we like came back to just Mino hugs for everyone, like just footage of him like hugging every single member at different concerts throughout the years, and you basically see everyone except for like Taemin at one point sobbing into Mino's chest, and it was just so warm and
then
lovely.
There's like echoey concert mic voiceover of Mino saying, this is just the beginning of SHINee. Like, if you trust us and wait for us, we'll always repay you with new and cool performances. And everyone cheers. And then they did a little like montage of them doing their thumb thing, which if you don't know, at the end of concerts, SHINee gets all in a line and they stick out a thumbs up and they go from one corner of the crowd shoot to the other, and they always do it, and it starts with like the SHINee World 6 one and goes like back and like chicka puts it in one of those little photo booth
Yeah.
collages. And then that's the end of the
I
movie.
know, it's so wonderful. Everybody cheer! Our SHINee.
It was so good.
It was wonderful.
It was a beautiful blessing. And I just felt I'm just like so glad that they made it and that that I was able to watch it so easily and that I'll be able to watch it all the time if I want to, because it was like, I don't know, it was like really well put together. And like you said, it really felt like for us, by us, where it had like, I don't know, I really related to the faceless shawl that took us through everything, and like seeing so much stuff, like seeing merch that I have, posters that I have, like in her room too. Like I just felt really connected to it, and it was so nice.
Yeah, that was super special, like that storytelling device that we've said. And yeah, seeing like the posters that I also own, just instantly like drew you in and like placed you right into the story in a way that was super easy to get into. But yeah, I would be curious because like I said, like we've seen other movies like the Monster X one and the 17 one where like it feels more like if you didn't know anything about the group, you could watch it and walk away like knowing a little bit about them. And this one, I am curious, like if somebody didn't know that much about SHINee and they watched this, what would their viewing experience be? Because it felt very much like a gift for the fans as opposed to a
Here's a
introductory
documentary about
exactly
SHINee, right?
Exactly. But yeah, so I am curious what they would think, especially because you know, they don't go into the details of like losing Jong or explaining why there's only 3 of them in the room or any of those things. There's no like explicit exposition about it.
There wasn't even a like May 25th, 2008. Like they didn't even, they did not explain.
There isn't even a produced by SM Entertainment. Like we don't get any shots of Lee Suman. Like we have, you know, no talking heads of producers or managers or any of that stuff, or like audition footage or anything. So it really is not like a teaching documentary. But as somebody who like is very much a part of SHINee World, it felt incredibly special.
No, the title is super apt. Like I think you said that when we were texting, like this just feels like it's for me. And I was like, it's called My SHINee World. Like they made it for us.
Yeah, they did. They did.
And I have so many things to say and gush about and discuss and like whatever. And but before I do, I feel like I must get out the smallest of complaints.
Okay.
And it is so small. But like I said, I think it really sucked that they skipped one of one. They could have, I don't know if it like really had to be an hour and a half and they made the cuts they made. But the other song that I think is kind of unconscionable that wasn't in this is Dream Girl. Like that whole misconceptions era is skipped in this movie, which I think is weird.
That's what I'm saying. Like the way I said at the beginning that I liked the pacing and the structure, and for the most part I did, but now that we're like talking about it, it's just reminding me of the way that the period between 2009 and 2000 or like 2010 and 2015 feels so squished. And I'm not sure why, because the movie is only about an hour and a half long. So I feel like if you know, added 10 minutes to cover 3 more years in which they released so much music, feels odd to just skip over all of that.
I agree.
I felt
agree.
like a weird choice.
So that again, that's my only like tiniest of complaints, is that like I feel like a couple of because there aren't many, but a couple of the B-sides that are in here could have been swapped out with like title tracks that got skipped that like feel important to me.
Well, and it also just like from like historical point of view in the
Mm-hmm.
sense of like, if this documentary is supposed to be documenting the past 15 years, why wouldn't you play at least a little bit of every single title song? Like
Mm-hmm.
that seems weird, especially because they kind of they start doing that. Like at the
Right.
beginning, that is the structure that they use, and then they just sort of arbitrarily stop and then choose like kind of random songs in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do wonder like, and maybe yeah, I don't know. I wonder if like the conversation that the members had in some way drove the like pacing of what they what they included in the concert footage. But yeah, I don't know. I my other bigger question was kind of about the decision to never explicitly talk about the loss of Jong.
I agree.
So before we get into that, is there anything else you wanted to say about the pacing or other
No,
topics?
I feel like all because I've gushed about it. I loved the movie. I really think it's great and that people should watch it. But I think that the other things I need to get off my heart right now are tougher things that
Mm-hmm.
I would like to talk through with my people in this moment. So I
Yeah.
think it's fine if we want to go down that road now.
Okay. So yes, like I said, in the moment of watching it, I think that because the movie already felt like it was using the concert performances to drive the story, it didn't have a lot of narration or exposition, and the conversations that the members were having were vague in terms of timeline.
Right.
And so the full and clearly emotional performance of Our Page, which came from a fan meet in 2018 that we as Shawls know happened so soon after Jong's death,
It was
that
the
like
summer after, yes.
yeah, it was like
And
not even a year.
that whole fan meet has a very interesting vibe to it
Mm-hmm.
in general.
Yes, because it was something where like the members decided that they wanted to do it, but it was also like they had been taking time to like whatever. It was a tough year,
The
and it
story
was
of Light promotions in general had an air about them and this huge elephant that like nobody wanted to really talk about except for it was the only thing anyone was talking about.
mm-hmm.
And the vibes were very strange in general.
Yes, they were very strange in general, and like he has since talked about how like he really struggled and still struggles with the way that people like trip over themselves to not talk about Jong when he
Mm-hmm.
very much wants to talk about him all the time, especially when SHINee is promoting and like or winning music shows or things like that. Like Jong, they're never not thinking about him and the fact that he's
Mm-hmm.
not there. So in that set, like knowing that, and as a Shawol, knowing that like I also am always thinking about the fact that he's not with them. And like this year has been fairly bittersweet with just having the three of them that were like the talking heads of this movie. I felt a little bit torn about
Mm-hmm.
the fact that we didn't ever explicitly address any of it because
Right.
like in the moment it felt like the performance of Our Page, knowing the context of that performance was an acknowledgement of the loss. And the conversation afterward where they talked about like their hiatus and kind of like how they put themselves back together in the following years. At the time, it felt like a much needed break and like a moment to breathe. But as we're talking about, you know, title songs that they missed, they completely skipped over the Story of Light comeback. That
Yeah.
was 3 albums that they did not mention or feature any performances of, which I do know that there wasn't a SHINee World like that year.
But at that fan meet that the art page is from, they did at least they would have at least done good evening because I think that the fan meet was before the second. No, because if they did art page, then the whole thing should have been out.
Yeah,
So
the
they
whole
must
thing
have
was
also
out.
done I Want You and like all the other things.
Yeah. So it felt it feels weird in retro. I didn't think about it at the time when I was
Right.
watching the movie, but in retrospect, it felt a little bit odd that they did choose to skip that entire era, especially because from the perspective of like, if you don't really know anything about SHINee, you've gone from seeing all of these things with 5 people to then now like there's just 3 of them in the room, and then the like SHINee World 6 performances are just 3 of them a lot of times. So like you never get to see it because like Jinky's not there right now. So like
Right.
you never really get to see them as 4 except for in that like one Don't Call Me performance. And so that's kind of odd too, because then you're thinking like, well, this is like a whole chunk of their history that we're really just like skating over.
Right. And I do wonder, and this is a wonder. This is not a complaint. This is not an accusation. It is just a wonder.
Yeah.
I wonder if at any point in all of this 15th anniversary stuff, this movie included, if the members did talk about this shit and that whoever made the movie decided it like wasn't like that it was untoward and they shouldn't put it in. And like that, just thinking about that is like upsetting to me because I feel like if there was ever a time for SHINee to like tell us something real about what that felt like, this movie was the moment. Because
I
it was
agree.
it was for us. Like,
Yeah.
we were all going to be there and like it was going to, but I get it and I don't know. But the whole thing just got me like generally very like emotional and in my feelings about things that we can never know, and like having really grievy feelings about like, like what stories would Jong have told if he was here?
Yeah.
Like, and so much time has passed now, like also just wondering like, what would he be like? Like,
Yeah.
what would he have done? Like, I don't know. Like, these are things I try not to. Being a Shawwal is very, very strange. And I like want to stay positive and I like want to like revel in like the love of the time that we got and the things that we had. And I never want to be that person that's like, I can't even listen to them anymore. It just makes me sad because like
Yeah.
most of the time it doesn't make me sad. And like,
Absolutely.
I don't want to revel in sadness, but like, this did make me think about a lot of things that like make me very sad.
Yes, absolutely. And like I wondered in the same way that you were wondering, like, did the members actually talk about it and somebody else chose to cut it out? I kind of wondered the opposite of like, did the members ask for
Right.
the conversation to be featured this way? Like, because they talk about, having had zero independence or say in what they did. And the way that they talked about it to me implied that that's not the case anymore.
Sure.
And like, because of how personal of a like gift to the fans this seemed to be, I am curious about like what kind of say they may have had in the outline of the conversation or the structure of the film itself and like the story that they told. But yeah, I like I said, I felt very torn about the decision to not ever explicitly discuss losing Jong. And I personally like have been, because like you said, like listening to SHINee, listening to like older SHINee, for the most part it's always like a super happy and like nostalgic and enjoyable experience, but also sometimes I do get a little bit overwhelmed with like how much I miss the artist Jonghyun and like how much I miss him being a part of SHINee. And so seeing so much footage of the five of them, seeing him being so prominently featured in the stage mixes, seeing this like performance of our page, like that all felt good in the moment and while watching it. And so it was definitely something that I felt like I had to kind of sit with afterward and like kind of decide how I felt about the way that they ultimately told this story. But yeah, it was an interesting choice. And I do wonder how much input the members themselves had in those choices.
And obviously, if it was their choice to do it this way, that I fully respect that. I'm just talking through my feelings here.
Oh yeah.
But it's also like I know it's different. I know that it's completely different in every way, but comparing it to the Monster X movie that we watched, where they had to like edit footage in a crazy way to try and never acknowledge that there was another member of Monster X at a point, like, and never bring it up. Like, I know you couldn't do that with SHINee, but like, just the fact that they like don't shy away from his existence is like something in itself. But again, I don't think you could even, you'd have to skip 10 whole years, and that would be insane.
Yeah. I also thought of the Monster X movie in comparison because this is not an introductory film the way the Monster X one was structured. Like, it's clearly for the fans that don't need any of this like exposition.
Yeah, they don't need hand holding.
Yeah, so it doesn't really feel like anything is being purposefully excluded in the way that it did in the Monster X movie, where you're like actually seeing like just an arm of a member that is cut out of a photo they're using. Like that, it wasn't being purposefully like sidestepped, avoided, but it was sidestepped.
Yeah, it still was sidestepped somehow.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that overall, I said this to you guys, but just like spending so much time in like reveling in and watching footage of all five members, like was simultaneously like very good for me, and also like drug up a lot of pain that I kind of like wasn't not expecting. Like, I feel like I should expect it at this point. But I think that this last year in particular, I have felt like on a very like in a tiptoey way about the way that things are right now, because I think like we obviously all like love and care for Jinky so much, and we like want him to be well. Like, that is obviously everybody's priority, and that the three members that are touring are like working their fucking asses off right now to like bring a SHINee World to SHINee World.
Yeah.
And like they are working so hard, and I don't want to discount like either of those things at all. But at the same time, like something doesn't feel quite right about having like a whole comeback and a whole concert tour where like only 3 people are doing it. And all of this retrospective 15th anniversary stuff, like this movie that I loved and the camping show that was so fun, and all the appearances that they made were so great and I loved them. But there was like another person, I mean 2 other people, one we can't hear from, but like I want to know, what stories would Jinky have told? Like what did he remember? That because they all tell stories and the others go, what? I don't remember that. And it's funny, and like we didn't get to hear about the 15th anniversary from like 2 out of 3 of the people, and like that just like hurts. Yeah. And I wish that it didn't. Like, I feel bad saying this stuff, because I think that's the other thing, is that like nobody wants to like say it because it like isn't nice, and it like doesn't feel good, or people make you think like you're discounting the work of the others, or blah blah blah. Or if you even try to say like, oh, 3 SHINees are performing, someone will jump down your throat and be like, SHINee is 5. And it's like, I know that they are 5, but right now there are only 3 bodies like standing right there.
There's not 5 people on the stage right now, and I think like
we have to
talk about that at some point. Yeah, I think that has ultimately been the thing that has felt so strange about the latest promotions with just 3, is that it kind of feels like this unspoken thing of like, don't mention the fact that there's just 3 of them right now. And it's like, but it's obvious. Like, what? But we have to. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. It's a lot.
But those are
things.
thoughts that are more to do with being a Shawol in general right now, and not necessarily about this wonderful film, which, like we said, all criticisms in mind, we still really enjoyed it. It has incredible rewatch value as a Shawol, and like, I mean, shout out to the freebie version that's on Amazon right now, because it had 0 ads.
Yeah, it's supposed to have commercials, but it didn't. So
it did
thank
not.
You.
And so the like ready availability that we currently have is wonderful. And yeah, it was ultimately a super enjoyable watch.
Yes, it was a really beautiful gift. And again, I apologize, but like, this is our show, and it is the place where we sometimes have to talk out difficult fangirl feelings.
We don't have to apologize for that.
No, I know. I'm just saying, you're right. It feels like a departure from the movie that we were talking about. No, but it's not unrelated.
But it's related because all of these things are things that got brought up because of the way that the movie tells the story.
Right.
And it also had a little bit of that same underlying feeling of, let's not mention the fact that Jinky's not here right now. That seems weird. Like the fact that they didn't even say like at any point and maybe like you said, like maybe they did say this and it just didn't get put in the movie. But like, I feel like usually when SHINee does, you know, let's say they're doing like a live or something where somebody's missing, they always mention the fact that like, oh, Taemin is like, we're doing a music video right now, or like, oh, Jong is on his radio show, so he's not with us. We'll call him later or whatever. So that they didn't even say at the top, like, oh, I remember Jinky can't join us right now, but like he sent us a letter, like, I don't know, like something.
Any participation, like even like a story about him specifically, like any of that would have felt less, it just felt kind of avoidant in a way that I'm like having a hard time like dealing with. Because like in that camping show or whatever that show was called, the cute little show they did at the 15th
where they went
anniversary,
cooked food.
They told specific stories about the 2 members who were not there. And when they were pouring shots, they poured shots for the members who were not there. And it was like, they talked about it.
That's what I was just going to say, is that the avoidant nature of it within this movie feels very contradictory to the way SHINee themselves conduct themselves. Yes. I was going to use the word comport, but that felt very pretentious, but it would have fit in this context. But like we said, in so many different areas and so many different topics of the conversations they had in this film, they were super frank and super upfront and casual about the struggles they really had and like the way they really felt about things and the fact that they didn't have any independence and couldn't go anywhere and all of these things. And like, that is how SHINee talks about everything, including the fact that they lost their lead singer and their best friend and their brother, like including the fact that they all went to therapy together to get back together and figure out how to, and if they even wanted to continue as SHINee. Like they talk about how hard it is to divvy up the parts and relearn it now without Onu. Like they don't shy away from any of that. So it's interesting that the producers of this film chose to do that.
Yes.
When we as Shawls also are coming to this knowing the way that our SHINee talks to us, you know?
Yes, I think that's what I was getting at, whereas like if you say that they didn't want to do it, like, okay,
sure,
then I
fine.
trust them.
Yeah.
But the way that they speak on other shows and the way that they talk on other things leads me to believe that that isn't the decision that they would make. Because like Key has said straight up, he wants to talk about Jung all the time and it's other people who make it weird. So like that's why it makes me think that like someone who edited this movie was like, ooh, I don't want this in here.
Yeah.
But but again, I don't know. And we won't know. Just saying, it felt kind of weird to me.
Yes, it does. It does. Like once you're kind of out of the movie and like sitting with it as a fan who knows so much of their story, it does make you kind of like, just think about it.
Yeah, just think about it.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've said all that we can say without talking ourselves in circles, but we did get a voicemail from a listener. So shall we listen to what they had to say about this movie?
Yes, I was just going to say we're not the only one who had thoughts.
Hi, Shannon and Angelica. The SHINee World movie was really great. Watching it after the news of Onu and Taemin not renewing their contracts does feel a bit bittersweet, which is strange to me because I really don't believe this means the end of SHINee at all because they all did renew their group contract within the last few months. But I guess like the uncertainty of other fans has rubbed off on me. You know, I understand that like K-pop groups being marketed as a family is part of the ploy for the money and attention of people like me who just really love strong friendships and found family dynamics. And like I know what we're shown might not always be true, but I really do believe that SHINee have a familial relationship, which might make me a delusional fan. But overall, the film really reminds me of what I just really want for SHINee. I want them to have as much happiness and love and warmth as they've given their fans over the years, and for them to be able to walk the path that is best for them. And to be themselves fully and authentically, whatever that might be. So also I found that I really was appreciative that you could very much feel the presence of all five of them throughout the film, which I think is so, so important. And it's just a reminder that, you know, SHINee was, is, and always will be these five beautiful souls. And I think they handled the story of SHINee through music with, you know, delicately and with grace. And I think that's the most important thing. Yeah. Bye.
I love the way that first of all, thank you for calling in and leaving us such a lovely voicemail. We always love hearing your voices. And it's just fun to get mail.
It is fun.
But I also really love the way that person said, you know, that they told the story of SHINee through music. And I completely agree. I thought that was ultimately the way that they like drove the narrative forward was through the timeline of their concert tours. And yeah, I definitely felt the presence of all five of them throughout the whole film as well. I think that was super obvious from beginning to end. And that did feel super good.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, that's the only feedback we got from listeners, but there was a chitter chatter happening in the Discord about people were going to watch it. So if you watch it and do have more thoughts, please leave them in the Discord or on our Instagram comments or send us an email late anyway, just because I want to hear what other people thought of this movie.
Absolutely. You're always welcome to send us your thoughts.
We love to hear them. Well, any other closing thoughts about My SHINee World? I feel like we've probably said them all.
I definitely have said all of my thoughts. Yeah, for sure. We had a great time watching it, and I will continue to have a great time every time I watch it in the future.
Yeah, I think I'm definitely going to be watching this like a lot because the HD footage is so nice. The stage mix of it is like very fun. Because I do occasionally, throw a Shiny World on YouTube. They're fun to watch. But like this is like a nice like condensed like all of them version that will be like nice, like it'll just be like good to add to my watch rotation that like this
it's
exists
like
now.
having the killing voice of TVXQ
Yeah.
where now it's just like a nice neat little montage of all my favorite songs. Like great, now this is just a perfect hour and a half little package of most of my favorite songs. And yeah, what's not to love?
What's not to love? So I hope you enjoyed this recap. I hope you watch the movie yourself if you haven't yet, because it's a great time. So thank you to whatever movie studio made this happen.
Yeah, we didn't look that up.
I didn't look that up, but
This
I'm
isn't
glad
paid
that it
promotion.
does. No, but I'm glad that it exists.
Yeah, me too.
And with that, we'll be right back with a random game. All right, we are back. And this week, the random number generator gave us a boy band that debuted in 2011 called N Train.
Like I gotta catch the N train.
Yep, exactly. This was a 5-member boy group under Media Line Entertainment. One of the members, Soul J, is now known under the stage name Babylon, if that means anything to anyone.
Okay.
And this is definitely a person. Another member named Sangwoo is now Woody. Who
Not
is
Woods.
a person, but Woody, who I definitely have seen featured on stuff. Like that's a name that crosses my
name
Spotify
that you know.
every now and again.
Fair enough.
I'm not sure why, but it feels like that. Anyway, N Train released 1 EP and 3 singles in the 3 years that they were a group. Their debut song was a mid-tempo ballad song. And the only thing on their Wikipedia is that somebody at All K-Pop compared one of the members' singing voices to Changmin from TVXQ's singing voice.
So we shall see.
Because that is, as far as I'm concerned,
quite a
the highest
comparison.
bar
Yeah,
that you can set for someone.
It's pretty wild. It's pretty wild. But it does say that like initially they, I guess, when they were training, were preparing to have more of like a dance style, and then they pivoted to this R&B soul oriented music and came out with this like debut ballad. But what we're gonna watch looks a little bit more second gen dance 2013 style music. So I'm interested to see what we end up with.
Yes, because their most popular music video is, I think, hold on, my YouTube's like not loading. Is it Come Back to Me?
Yes.
Okay. We are going to watch their last single from 2013 that is called Come Back to Me, and see what that's all about. So if you want to watch N Train Come Back to Me with us, you can pull it up and press play when I say go. 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, we've got 5 backs.
Ooh.
And we're wearing the like classic 2013-14 black and white, like different coordinated
Suit
outfits.
jackets.
Yeah.
With lots of spiky bracelets and asymmetrical
a lot of accessories.
bangs.
Yeah. And high top sneakers for everybody.
So far, it's like a triangular shaped box video that looks very of its time. One of the boys has like a nice high ponytail. Oh, that's a swoop.
Yeah. That was some peacock hair right there. Both of his shots, he's got real tall hair. And then we have one that's in just a vest. He's the guns out guy. Okay, now we're in a different box. And ponytail guy has let down his luscious locks. But yeah, like I assumed based solely on the opening shot, this is that 2013-14 dance.
Yep.
K-pop.
The song sounds exactly like I thought it was going to.
Yep. Me too.
And the chorus has like a little rub your hands together point move that they keep doing a lot.
It does. Also, Ponytail Guy has a huge tattoo on his forearm. I wonder if that's real. Now I need to spot it again. So much auto-tune.
Yeah, I'm trying to hear who has this Changmin voice, but
Yeah.
it's not coming through so
It's
far.
not coming through. Oh, that guy has all of his normal crooked teeth. Whoa! Shirtless and tattoo. I was right.
Ponytail Guy was immediately shirtless and ripped as hell.
Ripped as oh my god, he's so ripped, but he also looks like he's sucking it in so hard. Like
he's like
he is
standing in a very specific way to make it
to make his chest really big and his waist so tiny. Oh my god. My goodness, that was just like shocking. He's not even the guns out one.
I know.
But he does have tats, and they didn't make him cover them up.
Oh my god, that.
Did you just
In
notice
one-
the wings on his shoes?
Yes, the wings on the shoes
do.
is what I was trying to point out.
Oh my god. I'm assuming that that's the lead singer.
I was
that's
about to
supposed
say, is
be-
that the
yeah.
one? I was waiting for him to take that note like
One step
higher.
higher. Yeah. So was I.
Oh.
I like how he sang that on his own first. Like before they used the
They started
modulation,
skipping
he
it.
did his own ah. Oh, was that it? That high note right there?
Oh, maybe.
We had a little
We're doing the move.
apps. End train. I mean, all right.
All right.
That was End Train.
Yeah, that was N Train.
I'm
I'm pulling up my Spotify really quick because I want to see why I know Woody's name. Maybe he just like comes up when I put the like fucking okay. There's a Spotify playlist called Dalcom Cafe that's just like KR&B. And I put it on when I work sometimes. He shows up on that playlist a lot.
There you go.
I don't know which one he was in that. Like,
Sangwoo.
was he the ab one? I
Oh.
don't know.
No idea. Yeah, their Wikipedia page didn't even have a photograph. So hard to say.
And if I'm looking at the right thing, the one who is called Babylon now has a song on Spotify that has 11 million plays.
Wow.
And his Spotify picture is him shirtless. So I don't know.
Let's see. Wait, here's a labeled photo. Oh, yeah. Ponytail Guy is Soul J. Isn't that
Okay,
the one who
that's-
changed his name to
To
Babylon?
Babylon. And he has a shirtless tattoo. He has a huge tattoo on his neck now and a shirtless Spotify profile picture.
There you go. That's him. Shirtless
Wow.
from debut.
I mean, hey, you do what works for you, I guess.
I guess so.
All right. That brings us to weekly recommendation time. Anything you got to recommend?
I haven't really been watching that much new or keeping up with a lot of new stuff, but I did see that Chungha recently came back.
Yeah, she sure did.
And I believe that she's fresh from like a pretty rough legal battle with her previous company. And if I'm remembering correctly, she's now either on her own or under new management. She was on Lee Hyori's show recently, and I saw this like sick clip of her doing Gotta Go and like killing it in this oversized blazer and baggy jeans and like a glittery bra, like she's Selena, and she's just like stank facing it while she body rolls. And like I've never, because we learned that dance, and that dance is like super feminine and pretty and like graceful and sexy, and it's all about the S line. And in her Hyori performance, she like stanks it up so good. I was like, oh, I never thought about that dance as being so like tough, and it was great. It was so fun. But her latest song is called Eeny Meeny. It features Hongjung of ATEEZ, and she recently did a like one Kill the Po like performance so that you can see all of the choreography, and I think the song is really fun. I really enjoy Chungha. This is not one of her like gay club beats, which she does so well. It's more of a like hip hop inspired like dance tune, I guess, but it's still really groovy and the dance is really fun, and she just like slays it because she's so precise and fun to watch. So Eeny Meeny by Chungha.
Great. I love that. I did a quick Google. She is with Jay Park now.
There you go.
And she hadn't been seen in like over a year, because I remember when we were waiting for one of the concerts to start at KCON this year, we were like, hey, where's Chungha? And we like Googled it, and it was like, I don't know. She hadn't posted on her Instagram in like 5 months. And we were just like, I don't know. Where is she?
Yes. Well, so apparently like she had, I think that was a part of the legal battle that she was in. Like the company like owned all of her social media profiles, so she couldn't like post or do anything because they like owned her name. And so like all of the like, so she couldn't even like update her fans from her own like Twitter or Instagram because the company was like, no, that's ours.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wild.
So fuck those guys and celebrate Chungha's new release, Eeny Meeny.
Great. I love
like
it.
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Beat, drop.
Okay. I'm into it. I will recommend, let's see, what will I recommend? Because I also haven't watched or seen a ton of new things, but I did like a K-drama that I've been waiting forever and ever to came out last weekend.
Nice.
My favorite K-drama actor, Kim Soo-hyun, is like finally back, and my husband was making fun of me because I was like, my favorite K-drama actor just has a new show, and he was like, you say that everyone is your favorite, and I was like, no. Like,
this one is for real my favorite.
Is
for real,
my
this
favorite.
one is my favorite. And you know what? As your best friend, I can say that for real, this one is your real favorite. This one's your favorite.
He is my real favorite.
Yeah.
And I'm enjoying the show so far. The recommendation is not for the drama. It is called Queen of Tears, and it is on Netflix. I'm not really talking about the drama. The OST, however, is already flawless. Ooh. The main love theme is by BSS, which love to see it.
Soon.
It's called The Reason of My Smiles. There's another song from Hazy called Hold Me Back. And then the other song that's been released so far is by 10 Centimeter.
Oh, I love
and
10 Centimeter.
Tell Me It's Not a Dream. So like, anyway, there's only been 4 episodes of the show so far and only 3 official OST songs released, but I love all of them already. So just for a music recommendation,
such pleasant soundtracks. Oh, I love it. Welcome back, Kim Soo-hyun.
I missed him.
Always
so
a joy to see your face.
Your beautiful I love his face. He's so funny and he's so charming, and I love him so much. I'm like, I don't care if I like end up hating this drama. I will do and watch anything because to me he is perfect. Like I made a TikTok the other day because there's like a scene in the drama. It's like about a married chaebol couple, and they like they don't like each other. Like at the time the drama starts, they are not in love anymore. That's like part of it. And there was like a scene where the wife was like walking past him at work, like just sitting at a table with his like suit sleeves rolled up, like drinking his coffee, and it was like slow motion, just like him existing and her being like, wait, is he fine? And like normally a scene like that would not work for me in a K-drama, but it had me like kicking my feet and giggling because like he is it for me. He is it for me. I love him. And the writer of this drama wrote From My Love from Another Star. So like, come on.
The drama of my heart. That is the drama.
Yeah, so we'll see. Anyway, Busaksun OST. And also watch My SHINee World if you haven't.
Yeah. Extreme recommendation for a joyful hour and a half with our beautiful SHINee boys.
Yeah. All right. So that will do it for this week. If you would like to find us on Instagram, we're at AMAK Pop Pod. If you want to leave a voicemail like you heard in this episode or send a text, which you can do at any time, we are 181 AMAK Pop 5. You can email us amakpoppod@gmail.com. You can send us mail, P.O. Box 26096, Los Angeles, California, 90026. Patreon.com/AMAKPopPod for bonus content. And I sincerely apologize that the full weekly interview is not up yet. I have a new job. It's very, very time consuming. I'm gonna get it up eventually. I promise. But in the meantime, there's lots of other good stuff on Patreon, so you can check that out. Linktree/AMAKpop for our YouTube and Spotify, and you can also join our Discord. And those are all the places that we can be found. And I thank you for joining us on this all SHINee episode. We love to make a SHINee episode. This is a Shawol podcast after all.
Yes, it is. They are our favorite type of episodes to make.
And it was so fun watching this movie with you and our friend Jenna and texting the whole time and having a great time. And I loved it. So thanks. And we'll be back in 2 weeks with something. I don't remember. We've had to shove our whole planned schedule back because we kept having like guests and SHINee movies. Okay, you remember. All right, but it'll be a surprise for y'all, so don't worry. And we love you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Jonghyun, you're our inspiration.